but Maul's wounds were cauterized by the blade, and his mission was not yet done. His rage gave him the will to refuse his fate, and as he fell down the shaft, he used the force to pull a piece of ventilation tubing towards him. Grabbing onto it, he was able to climb up and through the bowels of the lower complex, until he finally arrived at a trash chute. This container was one of countless trash pickups on Naboo, taking it out to the dumpster world of Lotho Minor. Here, the once apprentice to the most powerful being in the galaxy would live in a maze of trash tunnels, surviving off of the rodents that infested this scrap heap of a planet. 3 years after the Battle of Naboo, his appearance was still reverberating through the Jedi Order, with some like Anakin even modifying a training droid to look like Darth Maul, something Palpatine witnessed and found most impressive. 12 years after that fateful duel, the fallen Sith's mother knew that her son, who was stolen all those years ago, was still alive somewhere in the Outer Rim, and Maul's return to the galaxy would be inadvertently initiated by Darth Sidious himself. He feared that Maul's replacement, Count Dooku, was plotting to betray him by training his own apprentice.
I would hate to think you are training your own Sith apprentice to destroy me.
You are no longer my apprentice. And now, you shall die.
By having a requisite class light destroyer broadside a fellow CIS capital ship of the Providence class, which Ventress was in, and then sending a Hyena bomber to crash into the hangar, Dooku was convinced that Ventress was killed in the resulting explosion. But she was able to acquire a ship and fled to her homeworld of Dathomir. Originally a Night Sister, she was captured as a child by slave raiders. When Mother Talzin learned of how this Sith Lord betrayed Ventress, she helped to plan an assassination attempt. And though this attempt failed, it left Dooku vulnerable. To fill the role of a new apprentice, Talzin contacted the Sith and made him an offer. It is unlikely that the Count would have known much about Darth Maul or his background, but he would definitely know that he was a Dathomirian Zabrak, and that they were highly trained killers.
It is true that your warriors are of an extraordinary caliber.
This gift would be a plant, and when the time was right, their witch magics would cause this assassin to turn on the Sith Lord. When Ventress arrives at the male encampment, the best among them are brought out. She finds many to be pathetically weak, but grabs a handful to compete against her, 2 of which were Maul's blood brothers, Savage and Farrell. This betrayed apprentice is easily able to best them all in combat, but when she is about to kill Farrell, his brother offers himself up and challenges her one-on-one. The incredible proficiency he was able to display when properly motivated impresses Ventress, even if she still defeats him. Savage was brought back to the Night Sister Temple, where they performed an excruciating transformation, using their magics to turn him into a powerful beast that would obey their every command. And to ensure that their control was complete, they had one final test for their creation.
No! Brother! Brother, please!
He is then planted at Dooku's side, and spends months training with the Count and going on a homicidal rampage that drew the attention of the Jedi Order. When Savage kills a target that Dooku wanted alive, the Count unleashes his rage on the beast, attacking him with blast after blast of Force lightning. Ventress arrives and activates the conditioning that enslaves him to her commands. But as the fight drags on, the Zabrak is beaten down, receiving even more volleys of lightning, enough that would have killed most other creatures. And this seems to have shaken him out of the spell cast by the Night Sister magic. He turns on them both, and then has to fight his way through the Jedi and droid alike in order to escape. Returning to Dathomir, he tells Talzin that he was not strong enough to defeat the Sith, and she assures him that he still has a destiny to fulfill, that his brother is still alive, and together they can have their revenge on the Sith, that alternative dark side cult that had used and abused both Night Brothers and Night Sisters alike. Savage's search would be tedious and extensive, but with a talisman he could tell when he was finally on the right world. Covered in miles of trash, this planet held a sibling that he long thought dead.
I'm here at last, brother.
An anacondan named Morley had offered to guide him around this maze like heaps of trash, taking him to the being that he suspected would be his brother. But this was a trick. He leads Savage to a trapdoor and drops him into the lair of a monstrous spider creature. It stalks Savage before striking and nearly overcoming him, but as it tries to rip him to pieces, the talisman grows ever brighter, and in its glow, he could not believe what he was seeing. This was his brother. Dumped here 12 years ago, Maul had crafted a set of mechanical legs and feasted on the scavengers and rodents that filled this place. Morley was Maul's first apprentice, calling Maul Master, as the serpent would lead scavengers into the pit and eat the scraps left by the Zabrak. This was a life that drove him to insanity.
In victory, my dreams have broken the chains. teachings are the easy part. It's
What goes on in here that's hard?
He saw himself as both fierce and pathetic, deserving of greatness and trash, manically bouncing back and forth as Savage tries to question him. But the one thing that remained intact was his want for revenge.
Into the filth, through the grief, Jedi!
revenge. I must have revenge.
This reunion was so powerful that even though this was a time that the dark side clouded much, such an intense dark side awakening in the Force was felt by Yoda meditating on Coruscant.
Killed your master many moons ago. He did.
How can this be? I killed him myself.
It is so, I fear.